In 1990, a tragic event unfolded in Mumbai, India. A husband, Rohit Nair, 32, was devastated when he uncovered a shocking secret about his wife's past. Rohit, an ordinary man with a modest lifestyle, was known for his traditional values and conservative outlook on life. Rohit was raised in a traditional, close-knit family in a middle-class neighborhood in Mumbai, where strong family values and the sanctity of marriage were deeply ingrained. As the eldest of 3 siblings, he was instilled with a strong sense of duty and respect for his parents. His mother was a dedicated homemaker, while his father, a retired factory worker, had spent his life providing for the family through hard work and sacrifice. Rohit carried these values with him into adulthood, shaping his expectations for his own future family. Though Rohit didn't pursue higher education, his work ethic set him apart. Right after finishing high school, he secured a job at a local factory, where he remained for over a decade. Known for his dedication, Rohit was always the first to arrive and the last to leave, earning the respect of his colleagues. His diligent personality reflected his commitment to providing for his family, just as his father had done before him. Despite the grueling nature of his job, Rohit never complained, believing that work was essential not just for survival, but for supporting his family. One evening, on his way home from the factory, he crossed paths with a woman on a quiet, narrow street. Her name was Sanya Bhatia. At the time, Rohit knew nothing about her past, only that their meeting would soon change the course of his life. Sanya Bhatia, 28, was born as Sanjay and had faced immense challenges in her journey to live authentically. Raised in a conservative family in a small Indian town, she grew up surrounded by rigid expectations about gender roles and societal norms. From a young age, Sanjay sensed that she was different from her peers, feeling out of place in the body she was assigned at birth. This inner conflict set her on a difficult path, as she struggled to reconcile her true self with the expectations of her family and community. Sanya always gravitated toward toys, clothes, and activities traditionally associated with girls. However, her preferences were met with disapproval, not only from her family but from society at large. Instead of being understood or accepted, she faced opposition, discrimination, and ridicule. Her conservative parents dismissed her behavior as a phase, believing that once Sanjay grew older, he would naturally conform to societal expectations. This dismissive attitude left Sanya feeling isolated, as her true identity continued to clash with the world around her. Her family tried relentlessly to shape Sanjay into the proper male mold. They scolded, forbade, and even employed harsh methods, hoping to cure him of what they saw as a problem. Sanya endured emotional and psychological pain daily, trapped in a body that felt foreign to her. The internal struggle was agonizing, fighting against her family's expectations while suppressing her true self. Every moment was a battle, not only with her family but also with the reality of being forced to live a life that wasn't hers. At 18, Sanya made the difficult decision to leave her family and hometown behind, determined to seek freedom and live authentically. She headed to Mumbai, a bustling city filled with opportunities, but the road ahead was far from easy. To survive in the city and save money for her gender transition, Sanya took on various difficult jobs. Each day was a struggle, but she remained resolute, enduring the hardships and isolation as she worked toward becoming the person she knew she was meant to be. Despite the endless challenges and societal discrimination, Sanya never wavered in her determination to live authentically. She faced every hardship with resilience, holding on to the dream of becoming her true self. After years of hard work and sacrifice, she finally completed her gender transition. For the first time, as she looked in the mirror, Sanya felt a profound sense of peace and self-acceptance, seeing the woman she had always known herself to be. It was a bittersweet moment for Sanya, filled with joy yet tinged with tears. She realized this was only the start of her journey. She longed for a life like other women, one filled with love and the possibility of building a family. While she had finally embraced her identity as a woman, Sanya remained haunted by the fear of stigma and discrimination that often accompanied her reality. Sanya made the difficult choice to keep her past hidden, deciding not to share her transgender journey with anyone. She adopted a new name, updated her documents, and began anew, hoping to leave her past behind. She found an office job and slowly began to integrate into society, making new friends and savoring the simple joys that life had to offer. Despite occasional feelings of loneliness and a longing for genuine love, Sanya constantly reminded herself to be cautious. Whenever someone got too close, she would retreat, fearing that disclosing her past would drive them away. One day, as Rohit was returning from the factory, he crossed paths with Sanya, who had just finished a long day at work. Their first encounter was serendipitous, marking the start of a meaningful relationship between two individuals searching for peace and happiness. Sanya, with her captivating features, long black hair, and deep, expressive eyes that sparkled with intelligence, immediately caught Rohit's eye. Though she dressed modestly, she radiated elegance and confidence. Sanya's demeanor was gentle and warm, creating a comforting atmosphere that made it easy for others to open up to her. Rohit was captivated by her sincerity and the empathy reflected in her eyes, while Sanya appreciated Rohit's genuine simplicity and kindness. Their conversation began with light pleasantries, but it quickly deepened as they discovered shared interests and values, revealing a connection that felt both natural and profound. Rohit discovered in Sanya the understanding and compassion he had always sought in a partner, while Sanya found in Rohit the safety and tranquility she had yearned for. As their meetings became more frequent, their bond deepened, allowing them to share their life stories, aspirations, and even their hidden fears. Rohit was continually impressed by Sanya's grace and sophistication, and Sanya cherished Rohit's authenticity and the respectful way he treated her. Within just a few months of dating, Rohit and Sanya recognized that their lives were intertwined in a way that made separation unthinkable. Their bond strengthened daily, not through grand declarations, but through the little gestures and genuine care they demonstrated toward one another. Rohit admired Sanya not only for her beauty but also for the depth of understanding and sophistication she brought into their relationship. Rohit believed Sanya was the ideal partner to build a family and embark on a new life together. After years of feeling isolated and burdened by her past, Sanya finally discovered the acceptance and love she had longed for. Rohit embraced her for who she was, offering her a safe haven free from judgment and reminding her that her past did not define their future together. When Rohit proposed, Sanya eagerly accepted, overwhelmed with joy. They chose to hold a modest yet heartfelt wedding ceremony at a local temple, a place that held significance for Rohit and his family. The event was intimate, attended only by family and close friends, creating a warm and loving atmosphere as they celebrated their union. Rohit stood proudly beside Sanya in traditional attire, his heart brimming with joy. Dressed in a stunning red sari, Sanya's heart raced as she envisioned their future together. As Rohit took her hand and vowed to bring her happiness, Sanya felt a deep sense of acceptance and love, knowing she had found her true place in the world. As Sanya gazed into Rohit's eyes, she recognized the sincerity and trust she had yearned for her entire life. Rohit felt he had discovered his ideal partner, someone with whom he could share both joys and challenges while building a family. For Sanya, this moment was a dream realized, being loved and accepted for who she truly was, no longer defined by the past as Sanjay. After their wedding, Rohit and Sanya enjoyed a tranquil and joyful life together. They settled into a cozy house on the outskirts of Mumbai, where the streets were calm, the trees lush, and the air crisp, far removed from the chaos of the city. Rohit remained dedicated to his job at the factory, working diligently from dawn to dusk to provide a comfortable life for them both. Rohit takes great pride in their small house, feeling a deep sense of belonging and envisioning it as the foundation for a lasting home with Sanya. Sanya embraces her role as a housewife, nurturing their space and making it warm and welcoming. She prepares simple yet nutritious dinners, and each evening, as Rohit returns home from his long day at work, he is greeted by Sanya's gentle smile and attentive care, which always brightens his mood. They often found joy in the simple moments together, spending evenings watching classic movies, engaging in deep conversations about their dreams and hopes, and taking leisurely walks in a nearby park, hand in hand under the warm glow of the sunset. However, as their life began to settle, Rohit started to express his desire to have children. He had always envisioned a large family, filled with the laughter and energy of kids running around their home. Every night, as they sat together on their small sofa, Rohit would softly share his dreams of becoming a father, envisioning the day they would welcome their first child into their lives. He imagined their home filled with the joyful sounds of laughter and the tender moments between a father and daughter. However, each time Rohit brought up the subject of children, Sanya couldn't shake her unease. Each time Rohit spoke about his dreams of fatherhood, it felt like a knife piercing Sanya's deepest fears, her fear of revealing her past as a transgender woman. She understood that, in her current situation, having children wasn't an option, and the thought of disappointing her husband weighed heavily on her heart. To ease the tension, Sanya started to offer various reasons for delaying parenthood: concerns about her health, the need for a more stable job, or the desire to be better prepared financially. Initially, Rohit was patient and supportive of Sanya's wishes, not wanting to add any pressure to the woman he cherished. However, as time passed, his longing for children intensified. He became increasingly aware of his friends and colleagues starting families, which made him feel the urgency of his own desire to become a father. This growing impatience weighed on him, amplifying the emotional strain between them. What used to be tranquil dinners began to feel heavy with tension as Rohit's persistent questions about having children became a recurring theme. Each time he inquired if the moment was right, Sanya could only muster a hesitant smile and reassure him with vague promises of soon. Deep down, she understood that these promises were empty, which only deepened the rift between them. The unspoken conflict started to surface, creating an atmosphere charged with unaddressed fears and frustrations. Rohit, who had always been patient, started to feel his temper fray as Sanya continued to postpone discussions about having children without offering any clear plan. His frustration grew, and he began to wonder if Sanya was hiding something from him. The small disagreements that once felt minor began to accumulate, turning into more frequent arguments. The home that had once been filled with warmth and affection now felt increasingly cold and tense, overshadowed by unspoken worries and unmet expectations. Rohit was eager to understand what was troubling Sanya, but each time he approached her for an open conversation, she would dodge the topic and shift the focus elsewhere. This only deepened his confusion and skepticism. Meanwhile, Sanya felt the weight of her secret bearing down on her. Each time she caught a glimpse of the excitement in Rohit's eyes as he spoke about having children, it pierced her heart with guilt and fear. She longed to share her truth, but the risk of losing everything she had built with Rohit felt too great. Sanya's fear of losing Rohit loomed over her like a dark cloud. She worried that if he ever discovered her past, he wouldn't be able to accept her, and everything they had built together would crumble. She had once believed that her previous life was behind her, allowing her to embrace a new beginning, but now that truth threatened the happiness she had longed for. Rohit began to sense a shift in Sanya's demeanor. She was more withdrawn, her laughter less frequent, and the warmth that once filled their home seemed to flicker like a candle struggling against the wind. He tried to reach out, asking if something was bothering her, but Sanya merely smiled and assured him that everything was fine. Despite her words, Rohit could feel the growing distance between them, leaving him puzzled and concerned about what lay beneath the surface. Sanya was no longer the lively and joyful person she once was. She had become more withdrawn, often avoiding Rohit's eyes whenever he brought up the subject of having children. Despite his deep love for her, Rohit couldn't shake off the troubling thoughts that began to creep into his mind. Rohit started to wonder if Sanya was keeping something from him. Doubts began to cloud his thoughts, creating an unspoken barrier between them. As the months went by without any signs of pregnancy, his suspicions grew, leaving him increasingly concerned about their future together. At first, Rohit made a conscious effort to be patient, convincing himself that it was only a matter of time before they would welcome a child. He believed everything would work out. However, as the months passed without any changes, his longing to become a father intensified. Rohit's anxiety grew as he faced constant questions from friends and family asking when they would have good news. Each inquiry felt like a weight pressing down on him, amplifying his frustration. He urged Sanya to see a doctor for a checkup, but she always found a way to deflect the suggestion. Sometimes she claimed she wasn't ready, other times she cited work commitments, and occasionally she mentioned her health, but Rohit couldn't shake the feeling that there was more beneath the surface. Sanya frequently cited stress as a reason to avoid the doctor, insisting she didn't want to add any more pressure to their situation. Despite his deep love for her, Rohit felt increasingly frustrated. He tried to reassure her that a simple checkup would only help them, making it easier to start a family. However, her continued avoidance only fueled his suspicions and left him feeling bewildered about what was really going on. The situation reached a breaking point one morning when Rohit took matters into his own hands. Without telling Sanya, he arranged a visit to a gynecologist, taking time off work and scheduling the appointment himself. He believed that a face-to-face meeting with a doctor would ease her fears and finally address their struggles with starting a family. Rohit thought that if Sanya was simply anxious about the process, seeing a professional would help reassure her. When Rohit brought Sanya to the clinic, she was taken by surprise and felt she had no choice but to follow him inside. Sanya tried to maintain her composure, but anxiety churned within her. As she sat in the waiting room, her heart raced, and each of the doctor's words felt distant, reverberating in her mind like an ominous echo. Rohit sat beside her, gripping Sanya's hand tightly, convinced he was doing the right thing. But deep down, Sanya knew she could no longer keep her secret. Confronted with the reality of their situation, and with no turning back, she finally gathered the courage to tell Rohit the truth: she was transgender and unable to have children. Sanya's confession hit Rohit like a thunderclap. He stared at her, his eyes wide with disbelief, struggling to process what she had just revealed. Her words seemed to fade into the background, drowned out by the whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. Rohit was crushed by the revelation. It felt as if the foundation of their marriage had crumbled beneath him. He grappled with the realization that he had been kept in the dark, not just about Sanya's inability to have children, but about the very essence of their relationship, which he believed was built on trust and love. In Rohit's eyes, Sanya had not just dashed his hopes of fatherhood, she had also undermined his trust and self-worth. He exited the clinic in silence, his heart heavy with disbelief and pain. It felt as though his entire world was crumbling, leaving him engulfed in a storm of confusion and heartache. His dreams of a complete family, with children and peaceful afternoons spent walking hand in hand in the park, vanished in an instant. Rohit felt as if he had been living a lie, and his self-esteem was shattered. The realization that the woman he loved, trusted and envisioned a future with had concealed such a significant truth was unbearable. When they returned home, the atmosphere was heavy with tension. Sanya attempted to explain, expressing her deep love for Rohit and insisting she never meant to deceive him. She spoke of the struggles she had faced in the past, the pain of leaving her family, and the journey of finding her true self. Despite her efforts to share her story, Rohit remained distant, grappling with the shock and hurt of her revelation. Sanya hoped Rohit would understand that she had concealed her past out of fear of losing the love and acceptance he had given her. She couldn't bear the thought of losing the only man who had made her feel safe and truly happy. However, for Rohit, Sanya's explanations felt like late excuses, failing to erase the sense of betrayal he now felt. The foundation of trust they had built seemed to crumble before them, leaving both of them grappling with pain and confusion. Rohit couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal and heartache. It was as if his entire world had been turned upside down. Each time he looked at Sanya, she felt like a stranger, someone who had concealed the most significant aspect of their lives together. The trust they once shared had been shattered, leaving Rohit struggling to reconcile the woman he loved with the reality he now faced. Rohit locked himself in his room, retreating from the world and avoiding Sanya entirely. He couldn't bear to hear any more explanations. He needed space to process the whirlwind of emotions that were tearing him apart. Meanwhile, Sanya was consumed by anxiety and torment, fearing she might lose the only person who had ever made her feel truly loved. She paced the house, her mind racing with thoughts of regret and longing, hoping for a chance to make Rohit understand her journey and the depth of her love for him. Sanya realized that no matter her intentions, nothing could alleviate the pain Rohit was experiencing. Each day felt like a step further away from the love they once shared, as she faced the possibility of losing everything: her husband, their trust, and the dreams they had built together. The warmth of their home now felt like a cold reminder of what was slipping away. As Rohit continued to pull away, Sanya's sense of isolation deepened, leaving her engulfed in a growing hopelessness that weighed heavily on her heart. In the days that followed, Rohit and Sanya felt like roommates rather than a couple. They stopped sharing meals, their laughter faded, and hugs became a distant memory. The warmth of their home was replaced by silence and unspoken tension, leaving them both feeling lonely and disconnected. Rohit frequently left the house early and came home late, deliberately avoiding any interaction with Sanya. He immersed himself in work at the factory, hoping that the long hours would help him escape his turbulent feelings. One sultry evening in mid-August, after another exhausting day, he returned home feeling overwhelmed by a growing sense of despair and bitterness. All of Rohit's pent-up emotions from the past month surged forth as he stepped into what had once felt like a warm home. There sat Sanya on the sofa, her anxious expression evident in the dim light of the room. A single lamp cast a soft yellow glow against the walls, creating an oppressive, tense atmosphere that heightened the distance between them. Rohit could no longer contain his emotions. He erupted in anger, accusing Sanya of betraying his trust and leading him to believe in a future that had now crumbled into nothingness. His words were sharp and bitter, laced with a deep-seated resentment that cut through the heavy silence of the room. Sanya attempted to explain, her voice trembling with emotion, but every word seemed to fuel Rohit's anger. He struggled to accept that the woman he had cherished was concealing such a profound truth. The tension in the room escalated, their voices rising as the argument reached a boiling point. Sanya pleaded with Rohit to calm down, attempting to move closer in a bid to comfort him. Yet each step she took seemed to push him further over the edge. The accumulated pain and despair had driven Rohit to the brink, leaving him feeling ensnared in a marriage that now felt like a deception. In a fit of rage, Rohit stormed into the kitchen and seized a sharp knife from the shelf. His vision blurred with anger. He could no longer see the wife he once adored. Sanya recoiled in horror, desperately pleading with him to put the knife down. She told him how much she loved him and that she never intended to cause him pain, but her words were lost on him. In that moment of fury, Rohit could hear nothing but the deafening roar of his own anger, drowning out all reason and compassion. He lunged at Sanya, the knife gripped tightly in his hand. She fought back, but her efforts were futile against the overwhelming force of Rohit's rage. The chilling sound of the blade piercing flesh shattered the silence, leaving a haunting echo in the once peaceful home. Each stab unleashed the anger and hurt that had been festering in Rohit's heart. Sanya fell to the floor, blood pooling around her, staining the dress she wore. She looked up at Rohit, her eyes filled with pain and despair, her weak voice trembling as she attempted to call his name one last time. But it was all too late. Rohit stood frozen, the knife still clutched tightly in his hand, as he watched Sanya take her last breath. The reality of what he had done slowly sank in, and panic surged through him, plunging him into a profound state of shock. He stared at his blood-stained hands, the cold knife still dripping crimson, and saw Sanya lying lifeless before him. The anger that had consumed him faded, replaced by a profound emptiness and overwhelming regret. Rohit knelt beside her, tears streaming down his cheeks, knowing there was no way to take back the irreversible act he had committed. He embraced Sanya's lifeless body, sobbing her name, but only the haunting silence answered him. Overwhelmed by the harsh reality, Rohit stumbled back to his office, his mind in a fog. He grabbed a piece of paper and a pen, and with trembling hands, he began to write the final words of his life. In his suicide note, Rohit laid bare the entire story, the doubts that had crept in, the mounting tensions, and the fateful moment when his anger took over. He conveyed his profound sorrow and remorse for his inability to embrace the truth about Sanya, the woman he had loved so deeply. He wished he could have understood her struggle, but in that moment of rage, clarity eluded him. Rohit confessed that he felt utterly betrayed not just by the revelation of Sanya's inability to have children, but also by the shattering of the trust that had once defined their marriage. In his final words, he expressed his overwhelming sense of helplessness, admitting he didn't know how to navigate the devastation of what had transpired. The weight of the guilt he felt was unbearable, leading him to believe there was no escape from the darkness that engulfed him. Rohit penned heartfelt apologies to his family and friends, those who had always supported him, and especially to Sanya, the one he had harmed the most. He concluded the letter with a prayer, wishing for Sanya's forgiveness, hoping that somehow she would find peace. Once he finished, he placed the letter on the table and took a moment to survey the room one last time, the memories flooding back as he prepared to say goodbye. He remembered the laughter they had shared, the cozy evenings spent together, and the love that once filled their home. Now, those moments felt distant and tinged with sorrow. As he walked into the bedroom, Rohit was confronted with the stark reality of Sanya lying there still and cold. The weight of regret pressed heavily on his chest as he knelt beside her, wishing he could turn back time and change the course of their lives. He sat beside her, grasping Sanya's lifeless hand, each passing moment stretching painfully. Overwhelmed by despair and guilt, Rohit made the heartbreaking decision to end his own life. In that quiet room, he took his final breath next to the woman he had loved and ultimately harmed the most. The once vibrant home, now filled with an unsettling silence, bore witness to the aftermath of tragedy. The night wrapped around the house like a shroud, leaving behind two souls who had loved deeply but were unable to navigate the pain they had inflicted on one another. The following day, when Rohit failed to arrive at work and couldn't be reached, a concerned colleague decided to check on him. As he approached the house, an uneasy feeling settled in his stomach, sensing that something was terribly wrong. When he got there, he knocked on the door, but there was no response. Feeling that something was off, Rohit's colleague pushed the door open and stepped inside, not prepared for the heartbreaking sight that awaited him. There, on the floor, lay Rohit and Sanya, both lifeless and still. Dried blood stained the floor, and the air was thick with the scent of despair and death. Trembling with shock, the colleague swiftly pulled out his phone and dialed the police. When the officers arrived, they secured the area and began their investigation. The scene painted a grim picture of a tragic murder-suicide. Rohit lay beside Sanya, the bloody knife resting nearby, a stark symbol of the violence that had unfolded. Investigators discovered Rohit's suicide note on his desk, detailing his inner turmoil, regret, and the events that had spiraled into the devastating outcome. The police investigation soon corroborated the details in Rohit's suicide note, which laid bare his anguish over Sanya's past and the fateful night when he lost control, leading to her death. Investigators meticulously gathered all evidence, from the blood-stained knife to the traces of a struggle in the room. After thoroughly reviewing the scene, they concluded there was no indication of any third-party involvement in the tragedy. All the evidence aligned with Rohit's confession, confirming that the incident was a murder-suicide driven by his emotional breakdown. The case was swiftly closed, marked as a tragic end to a family torn apart by hidden truths and unresolved pain. What had begun as love and trust unraveled into misunderstanding, with devastating consequences, leaving behind a cautionary tale of the dangers of buried secrets and unspoken suffering. The story of Rohit and Sanya became a haunting reminder of the devastating impact unchecked emotions and mental distress can have. The home where they once shared love and built dreams now stood as a silent witness to their tragedy, forever marked by the pain and loss that tore them apart. It became a lasting symbol of how fragile happiness can be when communication breaks down and hidden struggles are left unresolved.